Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the virtual meeting of the Board of Selectmen for October 29th, 2020. Read the preamble here that we have. Good evening. As Chairman of the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen, I'm declaring that an emergency exists and I'm invoking the provisions of RSA 91A:2, 3B. Federal, state, local officials have determined the gatherings of 10 or more people pose a substantial risk to our community in its continuing efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. In concurring with the determination, I also find that this meeting is imperative to the continued operation of town government and services which are vital to public safety and confidence during this emergency. As such, this meeting will be conducted without a quorum of this body physically present in the same location. At this time, I also welcome members of the public accessing this meeting remotely. Even though this meeting is being conducted in a unique manner under unusual circumstances, the usual rules of conduct and decorum apply. Any person found to be disrupting this meeting will be asked to cease the disruption. Should the disruptive behavior continue thereafter, that person will be removed from this meeting. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. We'll start the meeting by taking roll call attendance. And if you'd each state your name and whether you're in the room by yourself or not, for the right to know law. We'll start with Linda.
Linda Murray. I'm at my home in a room by myself.
Paul.
Good evening, Paul O'Brien, and I'm at my home by myself.
Dave.
Dave Senecal. I'm in my office by myself.
And do we have Dave Bowers with us?
I don't see him.
Don't see him yet. And I'm Brett Harriman. I'm here in a room by myself this evening. Okay, first thing, Mr. Pena, do we have a need for non-public this evening?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. We have no need for non-public this evening. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Our first item of business for the Board of Selectmen under RSA 21P:43 to accept the grant funds from New Hampshire Secretary of State Elections Assistance CARE Acts grant and designate Pat Waterman as the signer of said grant. We have any information we want to go over first, or we want to just go right into that?
I can give you a little background.
Okay, sounds good, Pat.
So this is a grant that's known as the Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Security Act. It's a sub-grant through the state of New Hampshire Secretary of State's office. So the reimbursement to the towns are fixed rate for each absentee ballot mailed and or processed for the September primary that we just had and the upcoming general election, also based on the excess of the totals that were sent out and used for the 2016 elections. So I've completed the required documents for the grant, and I'm hoping that you will support me by having me sign it because tomorrow's the deadline.
Okay, board members have any questions for Pat? I would entertain a motion.
I'll move that the town of Wolfeboro accept the grant for absentee ballots.
And designate Pat as the agent to sign.
Yes.
Okay. We have a second from Paul on that. Thank you. Any motion, a second, any discussion? A roll call vote. Linda?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And Brad Harriman votes yes also. All right, thank you for bringing that to us, Pat.
Just for
And
the
now
record,
we'll
oh, excuse me. For the record,
go ahead.
to date, there's been 1,853 ballots sent out, and we've received 1,717 back as of 4 o'clock today. And we now have a checklist of 6,252 voters on our checklist. The supervisors of the checklist had 62 new voters last night alone. So it's growing.
So we know what we'll be doing on Tuesday, don't we?
Yes, we'll be here for
Yeah.
a while.
Okay,
Mr.
all right, so we're
Chairman,
gonna move on to your budget.
Mr.
We're
Chairman,
gonna move on to your
Mr.
budget here,
Bowers,
Pat.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Mr. Bowers has joined us.
Yeah, I see Dave is here, so welcome, Dave. We're gonna move on, we're moving on to the town clerk budget here right
Well,
now.
thank you.
That's where we're at, so. You have anything you want to say up front, Pat, or do you want us to just dive right into the budget here?
No, I have nothing to say. I think you will do a great job.
Okay. So we'll take a look at the 100 series. $200 series. $300 series. Obviously, the cut down on the elections on 300 is due to the fact we don't have anywhere near the amount next
No,
year that we had this year.
Yeah, we have 5 this year. We only have 2 next year, hopefully.
Sounds good.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Paul.
Yeah, I just had a run rate question. So the, Pat, for the 2019 actual, how many elections did we have then?
2019?
Yeah.
We had
3?
3.
Okay,
We had the presidential. Yep.
okay. Okay, got it. So we had 3 in 2019 and we'll have 2 next year. And the costs year over, if you take out this year, the costs are, how do I figure out what the costs are up?
Right. There's been some increases on general codes. Well, that's not for the voting, but for my ballot, the ballot printings and for support.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Anything else on 300 series? 400 series?
Mr. Chairman, this is one of the items in the first review that was questioned regarding line 434. And I believe Pat and Amy had a conversation and it resulted in this going back to $200.
yes.
Okay. And on the 500 series, do we have any costs associated with the printing? Or will we have by the end of the year so that we can show that some money has been spent on that line item for 550?
Right, because I have to replenish envelopes and so forth.
So that'll get used up, okay. 600 series? $700 series? $800 series? Oh, go ahead, Linda.
On the 700 series machines and equipment, and as I remember, I read somewhere that we're going to buy some more booths.
Yes,
Did you write that in on a sheet?
I did.
Okay. The sheet I'm looking on, it wasn't there, but I thought I had read it somewhere.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
Linda,
replace the
that's on the
older,
new sheet.
Okay,
Where, Jim?
I'm trying to replace the older booths.
Yeah. Thank you.
800 series? And that takes care of your budget there, Pat.
Thank you for writing in. This was a lot better than the one we saw earlier because the explanations were underneath the amount. I want to thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Pam.
next on our agenda is the electric department, the capital outlay.
Uh,
New truck.
not a
Where did I
new,
see that?
Good evening. So at the time of my annual budget review with you folks, I didn't have my capital outlay submitted for a replacement meter reader pickup. So that's what this capital outlay is. It's to replace a 2011. It's a smaller cab and a half truck, the typical ones we buy. In fact, I could even lower this price some. I have the actual hard price now on this truck. My original request was for $37,500, but $35,000 will suffice after I got my formal bid price. So it's approaching over 100,000 miles. It will be over 100,000 miles upon the new year, and it's ready. My friends at the Public Works Garage keep reminding me that I don't want to have to inspect this next year because of all the work it needs. So, yeah, try to get 10 years out of them, and this one's ready.
Barry, how many meter readers do you have now?
So right now we have 2 meter readers, part-time. And
Yep.
this truck, I said meter reader truck, but this is actually Jim Shannon's truck, who was the meter reader supervisor. So he does, he heads up our tree trimming. He does our check reads, our final reads, our disconnects, our reconnects. And he also does usage checks with this truck. So yeah, we're down from, if you recall, we had three meter readers working 24 hours a week. And now we're just down to 2, each of them working 2 days a week because of the automated meter reader system that allowed us to cut staffing. And we also were able to cut one vehicle out of our fleet because of that. So that's worked out well. Would entertain any questions.
Would somebody like to make a motion to approve this for the $35,000 to cut the figure from 37.5 down to 35, as Barry said he could manage?
Yeah.
So moved, Brad.
Motion, a second by Paul, to reduce the price from 37.5 down to 35,000. Any other discussion? Have a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes.
Dave Senical,
Yes.
Paul,
yes,
Dave Bowers,
Yeah.
and Brad Herron votes yes also. Okay, any other questions for Barry on this while we move on?
thanks, Barry.
Okay.
Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, folks. Have a good evening.
Okay, next on our agenda is police department vehicle purchases. Vehicle purchase, not plural.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that you all received the letter that Commission sent with our recommendation for purchasing the cruiser. And for the general public, the recommendation that we made is similar to what accomplished last year, with the $57,077 for the cost of the cruiser will be placed in a warrant article for consideration by the voters, inclusive of whatever funds are available in the police special needs revolving fund, which we don't know what's in there right now. We're still waiting. So that's basically what we're looking to do. We made the determination that we need to get back up to 11 cruisers where we used to be fully functional, to save on wear and tear and building the mileage up so quickly. We're currently running 8 cruisers. We'll have 9 when this year's cruiser comes in, which should be sometime in November. We'll get it back from communication. And I can say with a great deal of certainty that as we move forward, but just for future reference, that we're going to be looking to purchase a new cruiser each and every year. So we'll be on a rotation. So 1 in, 1 out. After we get up to 11, it'll be 1 in, 1 out every year. So that way, we'll be able to save on vehicle maintenance costs. We'll be able to save on, gas, some hybrid models that are coming out. The newest model due in is a hybrid model. But currently what's happening is the cruisers are seeing a lot of use because we have fewer cruisers than we've ever had for some time, I should say. They're running more often, and not only are they increasing in mileage, but there's a lot of idling hours on those engines. So those cars are seeing a lot of use. We can easily get 10 years out of a cruiser with a proper rotation. So, if you folks have any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. But again, our recommendation was such as we laid out in the letter, that the cost of the cruiser be included in the warrant article, the use of any available funds from the special detail revolving fund. Once that amount, that's it.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions from the board? Questions for Steve or Paul? Go ahead.
Thanks, Steve. And by the way, thank you, Chief, for putting together your asset management plan on your rolling stock. It's a heck of a lot. Well appreciated. I think I remember 2 letters. The first letter was, I'm going to shorthand it, Steve. The first letter was, we need a cruiser. You guys at the town figure out how it should be paid for. And then the second letter was, we need a cruiser. We want to do a warrant article.
Well, to answer your question, Paul, you're absolutely correct. We sent a memo down or whatever that we wanted a cruiser, and because the ultimate decision falls on you folks on how you wish to fund that purchase, whether it be through an outright purchase, through a lease, what have you. We've looked at lease rates currently; they're not favorable at all. This whole car would cost a lot more money to be leased. Obviously, that's not the case. And then we had received a memo from Jim Pinio, the town manager, advising us of this revisit and what you folks were looking for, and it was suggested that we have a recommendation ready. Again, this is your decision ultimately to make. We just feel that moving forward, the best method, at least for this year anyway, is an outright purchase, and to do the same thing we did last year, purchase the cruiser outright and use the available funds that we can from the special detail revolving fund.
Okay, so I missed I didn't see the memo going from Jim to you guys, so that closes the loop. I got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments?
I just want to say, so I think I agree. I think that, the way to do it is to, if we're going to be on an annual basis here, I think we've kind of worked that out the last couple of years with the budget committee and stuff. There's a suggestion also to, instead of coming in 1 year or 2 or 3, we get on the yearly, for one a year there, get the fleet rotating. And then our hit on the budget stays steady every year too and stuff. We don't have the spikes going up and down. So to me, it makes sense to purchase outright each year. And because if you do the lease, and by the time you do 3 years into a lease, you're going to have 3 leases going at the same time, and your budget number is going to be the same anyway. So I just wouldn't say purchase it.
I'd like to add to Mr. Chairman is that the right now, obviously, Ford has done away with the Taurus platform for cruisers, and everything is gravitated toward the Explorers, which are very good. They serve our purpose well. They do the same for all the other law enforcement agencies in the area. And as we continue that transition and move forward, we may see a reduction in costs, because we'll be able to, when we go to do upfitting, it's easier to upfit from an Explorer to an Explorer than when you're trying to transition a sedan, if you will, to an SUV. So we won't need to spend as much money for the upfit. So we could see a reduction in costs once we reach up.
Thank you. Linda?
Yeah, I like the idea of putting it out in a warrant article and keep that revolving fund, use that each year to supplement. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot this coming year, but that makes a lot of sense to me because we at least get some money out of the revolving fund. We keep the revolving fund as level, and I think that's the best way to go than stick it in the back of the operating.
Yep.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Any other questions from the board?
No.
Mr. Chairman, just so you're aware, the new finance director has done a preliminary look at the revolving fund. She will be reaching out to the police department in the coming days as we get ready to prepare this to verify that the numbers that we are seeing in the revolving fund are in line with what they believe is in that account. So that is actively happening.
Jim, do you have some idea how much that is? Jim?
The finance director and I talked about this, I believe it was Tuesday, and quite frankly, I don't remember, but it was not a whole lot of money. I want to say in the $15,000 range, but I do not recall.
So that's it.
57 is a lot of money.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, thank you, Paul. I think even if we took, $5,000 or $7,000 or $10,000 out of that and defrayed the cost of that purchase, where this is a COVID-19 year, I think that makes a lot of sense. But I'm totally fine as long as we keep, I think, 5,000 or 3,500 in that police detail revolving account. I'm totally fine with that. I think that's a good use of money.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
So next on our agenda is the fire department.
Mr. Chairman, the fire department has requested to come in front of you on Monday. So we have pushed that back as a result of that request. I did speak with two more board members today to get their blessing on that as well. So we can skip over that this evening.
All right, we can see them on Monday. Which brings us to the Libby Museum. We have this, Kat. How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Good.
You have anything you wanted to bring up to us before we go in? We'll just go through these line by line here and stuff. If we have any questions, we'll ask you, but if you have anything you'd like to mention first,
Okay, yeah, Mr. Pinio wanted me to talk about storage space for the winter.
Okay.
So currently all of most of our very temperature sensitive items, the ones that come out every season, they're at my house. We're using my room for storage right now. And then after Thanksgiving, I'll be home on December 1st. So the plan will be to move them to somewhere a little more permanent. Julie Jacobs, one of the friends of the Libby and owner of Blacksmith Printing, has an office space that she said she could rent to us. That would be $350 a month. There's also a U-Haul with temperature controlled spaces in Rochester that has like one space left for the size we would need. And that's about either 110 to 114 a month or 115 a month. The only issue I saw with that was that what's it called? The insurance doesn't cover antiques. So if anything were to happen, we would not be covered.
I was going to ask the question about your insurance for your place too. Does your insurance cover antiques? because we're moving priceless artifacts, and I mean priceless because that's what you call them. We're gonna make sure that we make sure we have insurance to cover that stuff. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Jim, wouldn't if there are exhibits, wouldn't our Primax carry them? I would think that's a question for our insurance company, Primax. It's one of our assets.
I will reach out to Primex and get some clarification on that very question.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're
I
right.
really don't know a lot about our insurance, so any information.
No,
You probably
would be-
How many,
So-
could I ask, Brad, could I ask, how did we do on a year basis? Do you have any stats on how the museum did? How many folks came through the door, even with our COVID thing going on?
I have that information.
Yeah,
Can pull it
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Let me I know we made $1,800 in admission money. The actual number of guests, I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm gonna pull that up right now. Total guests was 744.
Thank you.
And then I actually did like a kind of analysis of year to year if I kind of just did this one day. Season was cut in half. Oh, and actually that number doesn't include I haven't included reservations. We had about 15 reservations between Labor Day and Columbus Day. But the 744 number, if you break that down and compare it to the numbers from last year and take out the programs, which we didn't have this year, and then account for the fact that we were open half the season and 5 days a week instead of 6, it was about right on par.
Okay, thank you.
Linda,
yeah, I'd like to go back to the storage and get a better feeling to it's a heated unit in a building in Rochester.
That was just a preliminary search. It was a U-Haul storage center.
It's in a U-Haul, and so
U-Haul.
we have to transport down and bring it back.
Yeah, you can rent a U-Haul truck for $20 a day. So yeah, that would be $20 there, $20 back as well.
Does any
That-
other
that-
board have
Do
any
extensive
feeling
research.
about
I wasn't sure what the feeling was from you guys, but then I also could because we have a significant amount of our budget from this past year left over. Could we just use the money from the budget this past year?
No, it can't roll over unless we can encumber it to, Jim, can we encumber for a lease? A year's ahead lease from a prior year's budget?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I would think the question we would want to ask the provider is, can we prepay for the rental of the unit? And if we were able to do that for a period of time, I think we could take care of that as part of the 2020 budget.
I wouldn't see as that would be a problem on their end. I would think they would love to get paid up front for, a 6-month lease or whatever the length of time would be that we'd have it there, 6 or 7 months, so.
So I think whether we can encumber the money is a finance officer's question. And I agree with Brad. I mean, if you walk in and you say, here's $1 million as a prepayment. I don't think anyone's gonna say no. But
Not quite saying that, Paul.
But here's my thinking on it though. These are important artifacts.
Yeah.
And we're only storing those artifacts that belong to the town. There are other artifacts that are going back to, I think, their owners. We need to treat those artifacts with importance. And And I don't know whether it costs more money or whether we have somebody come and crate them up for us, and once we find a storage location. But these are important things that need to be crated, protected, and insured. And I know that's a lot of work to do between now and the end of the year, but I think that ought to be our model of how we do that.
So what are you hoping to move from the museum?
Anything you possibly can that is susceptible to moisture and damage.
It's unrealistic to try and move everything. We took out the stuff that we move every year that's particularly at risk for, temperature changes. But I mean, there's a lot of very valuable things. So it's a matter of, where I had this issue when I was packing everything up a few weeks ago was I just didn't know where to stop, because I mean, everything in there is valuable. Everything could be packaged up, but it's a matter of, is that feasible? Can we do that? And then the older antiques, like, I mean, the mummy hands are the first ones that come to mind. I can't move those. You would need a trained professional to move those.
Right. So I'm not competent or capable of telling you what should or shouldn't stay. I'm reflecting on images that were provided to us by members of the museum that showed mold and things on animals and the like. We said that we wanted to have those artifacts protected. So that's about as far as I can go. I think you're doing a great job trying to figure out how to get them extracted and stored. And I don't know if this would work, but I'm going to mention a name, and I'm not selling this company, but I do recall that there's a company out of Portsmouth, and their name is Gentle Giant, and they specialize in, I think, in crating, storing, in important things. And I'm wondering if a moving company could be acquired to come in, assess, crate, box, store, and so we just kind of write them a check and don't have to do the U-Haul thing. I'm wondering if that's a possibility.
Definitely something we can look into.
That way it saves you and Julie and everybody from having to, rent a U-Haul truck. And I mean, that's a good hands-on thing to do, but I don't know, the rest of the board members, please weigh in. But I'm thinking we get this thing hands-off, get a company to come in and do that for us and see if we can get those things all paid for this year. That would be great.
Yeah, I think as far as the part you said about coming in and assessing what should be moved and stuff, I think that would be, I'd rather see that, be left up to Kat with, with input from probably Alana and Lauren if they wanted to have some input, because they're all familiar with a lot of the exhibits and what's fragile and stuff like that. I think that part of it should come from our end, but I like the idea. It's like you mentioned, Paul, and have somebody that could professionally move them, and then we know they won't get damaged during a move. They'll be put into this unit. Kat would probably know better as to how many pieces could go into that square footage of the unit that we have there. And we'll have to kind of pick and choose our exhibits that are going to go in there. So, but I'd be all for that.
I guess I'm with Paul. I'm concerned about them being moved properly, and crating will be there. And so when I was weighing the difference between 115 and the 350, and 350 being in a building with somebody there constantly opposed to a storage unit, and they're valuable, I've been toying, do we want to spend more and have it in a place in town that's heated where somebody's there, or do we want it in the storage unit in Rochester? And I'm thinking back and forth. We pay to get it crated, we put it down there. I guess then we have somebody move it, then I don't have as much concern.
Mm-hmm.
I just think if you got a car or a U-Haul and you move it from here all the way down to Rochester, to me, doesn't seem like real good for the exhibits.
And
No, I
and I
agree.
give you a big hoorah for wanting to do this, save a couple of bucks. That's good. I think what you're hearing from us is, if you can get it professionally done, then the moment it leaves our building, it's on their insurance. And it's done professionally. So it's kind of a nice, clean handoff, as long as there's a competent company doing it. So anyway, I sent you a link. And again, I'm not the sales organization for this company, but I remember, I think in my former life that there's a discussion about using this company for museum pieces. So I might be wrong, but I just sent you the link, Kat.
Yeah, I mean, I can give them a call and check in about that as well. Yeah, I think the real issue is that, I mean, despite being the director and the two previous directors as well, none of us are really trained in actual historical artifacts. So, I mean, our guess is as good as yours as to what is super valuable and what is going to be damaged. I mean, other than when we come in, we see what's moldy and what's not. So I want to at least state that, yeah, I don't have expertise in this, and I can definitely, and Alana as well. I mean, I think she probably knows a little bit more than me, but yeah, I want to make it clear that we don't know, like, professionally what is at the highest risk for that.
Even, that being said, I would still put more faith in you guys making those decisions than us going in and telling you what to do and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
I'm comfortable. I'm
Amen
very
to
comfortable with
that.
that. So,
Amen to that.
okay. Anything else?
Do we have any price range that we're thinking we should spend on this? How much are we willing to spend to have it created and stored? Do we want her to come back with a quote?
And
Or
I mean,
do we say just go ahead?
for me too, because then that really would determine how much we can actually take out of the museum. Because I mean, I took out like the most, like the things that are most at risk, the oldest, the most fragile. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff, like the books and stuff could all be taken out. Like we have these moths, and I don't know, we have a lot of things.
I would feel comfortable letting Kat and Jim work it out. They know what the balance of the budget is there, and as my opinion, as long as it comes in under the budget there and it seems reasonable, I'd be comfortable with them making that decision. That if it makes sense to have this company, if the company comes in with a number that seems reasonable, and to go ahead and do it. What other board members feel on that?
I would like to know what the price is. Because we're going to be trying to go out and promote this. If the warrant article comes forward, and we should know what we're spending. So they can make the decision, but I would like to know what it is if you wanted to.
Okay. Yep.
I think that's the right thing to do.
What?
I think that's the right thing to do, Linda. That's exactly right, because we're going to be. We need to let the voters know what the cost is to operate the place, and we've decided as a board to sequester these materials, these artifacts. That's a cost, and it might be an eye-opening cost, but we have to put that on the table. So I think that's fair. I think it's the right thing to do. But I think Jim and Kat can. To Brad's suggestion, you guys figure out what the costs need to be. Let us know, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. All right.
Is that cool?
Anything else
okay with that?
Yep. Anything else you wanted to bring up to us, Kat, before we dive into the budget?
I believe that's all. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll go into the Libby budget here. Start off with the 100 series. $200 series. 300 series. I have one question on the 341 on the telephone. I think we saw this somewhere else earlier this season on our budgets, that on the 2020 expended to date, we have a negative number there. I'd like to have all our accounts show us that we're making money on these things.
Mobile credit.
So we could just kind of check into that. And
I actually believe that this may actually be a credit from an overpayment that was made in the 2019 budget. I remember having a conversation with Kathy Waldo about this, and there was something weird about this, and I think we determined that it may have been a credit resulting from 2019 budget.
okay,
Then that should be part of the footnote. So
Yeah.
people know that that's what's going on.
Jim, I agree with that.
Okay, I will put that back into the footnote. Thank you for the verification, Michelle.
anything else on 300 series?
So so the big jump, because when I see the totals, we're approved on a year-to-date basis, total 2214, spended 7911. Is that right, Jim? Or am I misreading that?
You are correct. So I made a management decision on this one. If you recall, in 2019, there was a capital outlay for the amount of $20,000 for the dock or the repair to the stone wall. The only bid that we received was $29,000 and some change. The Board of Selectmen authorized the $9,000 and change to come out of the Betty Jane Stroth account. When they got into the work, they found some expanded scope. Dave Ford went down there, worked with Belknap County Landscaping to finalize the scope of work. The scope of work had an anticipated expense of $8,500 to $14,000. The actual over expenditure was about $5,000. And as a result, I made the decision to take that from this particular account where it kind of ties with this operation.
That's the footnote operation for the budget committee, just a kind of a, as you know, they'll look at that. Okay, thank you.
Will do.
Okay, 400 series.
Yes, I have one. 435. We only spent about 1,000 this year. Was there other maintenance that should have been done?
How come?
Is there more coming in? I guess what I should say is there more maintenance that needs to be posted here? And if not, what I would do is I take some of that over expenditure and stick it in this line, so you spend this line completely.
But I think the bigger question I think you're asking, Linda, is we know that some expenses, you know, just some maintenance expenses are probably needed for the building, and are we going to spend up to the level that we asked for? That's really the question, right?
Yeah, I'm asking, had we spent it, and
Yeah.
if not, I'd hate to see this stay so low.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And I would almost take some money from that wall and stick it down here and take it from here I mean, we're just so they don't cut it.
I think that was more so, I mean, the building maintenance, it was half a season and I'm new at this. So I didn't take on really many big projects. It was just, like night security things or elevator inspections, etc. But I mean, there's definitely plenty that can be done. I think I also wasn't sure how much I should be spending in building maintenance with this renovation coming up. So it was kind of a balancing act for me there. But I mean, I think next year something should be done about that wall where the paint was peeling, and whether that comes out of my budget or the restoration budget.
Yeah, you mean the one over the front door when you come in, kind of that one?
Yeah, the one that it hangs down. We just nailed it back up so that people couldn't see it. And I think might need a little bit more than a nail at this point.
Yeah, the difficulty, and I think Linda pointed it out, the difficulty is the line's underspent. The narrative has been the place needs help. Yeah, you know, and you prudently are saying, should I fix it or wait for the rehabilitation effort? I mean, those three variables go into a math problem. My advice to you is, I would try to find, you know, don't look for things. I would try to find the things that are obvious and need fixing, and that little toupee that's hanging out on the front door there is probably something you might want to get some money on.
Okay.
It's clearly water damage. It's clearly something that you know, someone's going to turn around and say, "Ooh, that's ugly." Yeah.
It's scary. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, anything else on 400 series? $500 series? $600 series?
Yeah, 630. And it says maintenance supplies. And you spent $55 the year before, and I know it's not you, Pat, but the year before it was 55. You spent $342 this year. You're asking for the same $1,000. It just doesn't look like the spend rate is there. So I don't know whether we as a board want to cut that down or leave it for the budget committee, but that's coming down. And I have no problem leaving it for them because they like to cut some stuff, but that's a target.
Yeah.
Line.
I agree. So what's in the Kat, what's in the line? Is this cleaning fluids, mops, brushes, and things of that nature?
So, I mean, the discrepancy with that might also come from a lot. I mean, all of our cleaning supplies, or not all, but a lot of our cleaning supplies got charged the COVID account. Whereas we might have actually put that in maintenance supplies. But yeah, this year I spent a lot on you know, glass disinfectant. So it was like a COVID expenditure. I can't speak to the $55, but I, you know, as a budget person would also be concerned about that. I didn't realize it was that low from the year before. But I mean, maintenance supplies is really a lot of nails, bubble wrap when I was wrapping things up, waste baskets. Just, it is usually little things. And then especially if you have a large budget for building maintenance, I don't, not to talk myself down from a budget, but
You know, I think you just nailed the point. So last year when the budget was submitted for $1,000, we had no idea about this novel coronavirus. Line 880 comes rolling in, and you've spent $772
yeah.
on that. I don't know why you're doing it. Well, okay, you spent $772 on that. If you take that 772, add it to the 342, you're at $1,000.
Yeah.
Yep, I think that'd be a good notation to put on there.
Actually, you're over $1,000. You overspent the budget. Shame on you. Shame on you. You shouldn't have done it.
Why we had the COVID line.
Oh, this is so screwy. So, I mean, is that, I may have forced that discussion. Is that actually what happened?
I mean, then there were some, I mean, it's that the 700 was definitely higher than if it wasn't for COVID. I bought a lot of, very, that included masks and hand sanitizer that we probably wouldn't have usually bought 4 jugs of hand sanitizer in a normal year.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, I doubt if there was no COVID that it would be that much, but a lot of what I bought ended up technically being for COVID, but I would have had to buy in a normal year anyway. So it definitely, the maintenance supply line would have been higher if it weren't for COVID.
Well, Linda's right again. Get your game face on. The budget committee is going to be looking to. You're going to want to Zorro that one. Okay,
I mean,
thank-
we can take it down to 500, which is within what it's spent the last couple years. It makes them look as if we did something, or we can leave it and let them do their cutting. I don't care one way or another.
I don't either. You know what? Actually, let's leave it and see what happens here.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
You got the rest of you
I'd
guys
say-
okay with that?
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say leave it, and we'll kind of run that narrative at them that, we spent $772 that COVID picked up for expenses that the bulk of it would have come in underneath our maintenance supplies. We'd have been at around 1,000. See what they say.
Right.
If they cut it, they cut it.
And the ask for next year on line 880, even though we haven't gotten there, the ask is,
Yep.
listen, we're going to open the museum, and we're assuming that we're still in this wonderful mess of virus.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we're on. Anything else on the 600 series? 800 series?
Yeah, under COVID, it says $2,500 part-time wages, Social Security, cleaning, etc.
What be that?
So that is to reflect my position for COVID cleaners this past year. Whereas usually we would have only 2 people on a day, and then maybe a few days where we'd have 3 people if we have like events and stuff. We had 3 people on every day this past year. 1 employee being dedicated to wiping down surfaces to stay within CDC guidelines. If COVID is the same threat, I would need, so the third part-time wage is $10.61, 3 days a week for 8 weeks of the summer in a normal year. But if COVID is the same thing, that position would go again to my COVID cleaner. We would reduce the days that were open from 6 to 5 and have that person on 5 days a week for the full 12 weeks that were open.
That really should be up under part-time wages, because I think the COVID expenses were stuff that we could get paid back for this year. Isn't that what that line was used for, Jim?
That is correct for this year, Linda. I struggled with this one when Kat had provided it to me, where to place it. And if we're dedicating this as a COVID related cleaner, and if there's more funding coming forward, do we want this person's wages to be eligible for recouping those costs going forward? So that was kind of the logic in placing it there.
I like his logic.
I would put it under part-time wages, take it as if, we would need that extra cleaner. And if we get it paid for by another COVID release, we do, if we need that person. But I don't think any other budget has budgeted it in, any future COVID payment with staff or anything else. I don't recall it. Does anybody else remember we did it in any other budget?
There's been a couple for supplies, but there's been nothing related to COVID related cleaning. If the board wants to come to a consensus as to how they'd like this to be accounted for, I'll gladly move around.
So what you're doing is you're saying, I need $3,300 and here's my justification for the number. And the number includes $2,500 for a part-time cleaning person. Linda is saying those part-time wages should go in a category called part-time wages. But somehow, if it went over there, Linda, we'd have to kind of put an arrow that says, we have a budget request a couple of lines down the street here for the money to pay for it. Is that how
No,
we
I
do
would
it?
put the money all up in part-time wages that we would need.
Including the COVID money?
Put it up there, and if we don't use it, we don't spend it. It's part-time wages. You know, I just, that's just my point of view. You know, if that was the case, we should have money in the Brewster building for part-time wages in case we have, you know, COVID and we had extra cleaning and supplies, and I don't think anything's there.
I go to Linda's point of view. I would agree. Put it up in part-time wages as long as we clearly footnote it.
That's what I would do.
I agree with you.
Same amount of money, we're just putting it in different place.
Just clearly
Okay.
footnote it. And then
And at
reduce.
the same,
reduce
and at the same
ask
time, I would-
980 by $2,700, $2,500.
and at the same time, I'd put that $772 footnote in underneath the
Yeah.
the 680 line we were into before.
Yeah.
630 line on the maintenance supplies, just so that we know that we still need that 1,000. We wouldn't want to lose that part there too, so.
Isn't this great, Kat? We're not adding or subtracting anything from your budget. We're just trying to figure out what bucket to put all this stuff in. It's a
We're
wonderful
just
thing.
moving it right around.
I'm
And you
happy.
were telling us you don't know what to do with the artifacts. Well, come on over here and try to help us do this budget stuff. It's crazy.
Like the Brewster building had supplies, cleaning supplies, slow, you know, your hand sanitizer and stuff. It didn't have any wages. That's the piece that why I picked it up.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. Put it over there with the explanation what it's for the increase, and we're gonna need to put this on a revisit to see it, or are we comfortable with the changes that we made and how to reallocate it?
I'm comfortable. It didn't change the bottom line. We just moved things around and move it around, and Kat will get it as it's changed, but we didn't really cut anything. We just moved.
We're not changing the tune,
Okay.
we're just moving the chairs around.
Everybody else good with that? Anything else under the 800 series? Okay. That's fairly painless, huh, Kat?
Perfect.
Thanks for your passion.
Absolutely. All right. Are you all set with me?
Peace. Yep.
We are. Thank you, Kat.
Great
Bye.
all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Over now.
Bye.
I think I want to.
Okay, our next item.
I think I want to move artifacts. I don't want to do budgets anymore.
Next item is technology.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just want to preface the technology budget. You may recall last year, there was an ask for a couple of items in the technology budget. One of those items was transitioning to a full-time IT person. If you look at this particular budget, we again are coming forward asking to transition our part-time IT person to a full-time IT person, effective at the 14th week of the year. So when you look at this, you'll see two different lines. You'll see line 113 reflecting supervisory salaries if the individual were to become full-time. And then you will see line 117, which reflects the first 13 weeks of the year at 10 hours a week as the individual is currently programmed. I believe you also received an Excel document backing up what the total ongoing expenses of that position would be. With that said, I can also sit here and say that we are seeing a significant need from departments, committees regarding technology. We have got a significant number of technology contracts that are some within the technology budget, many within a variety of departments. And it is at this point a little bit cumbersome. The IT person we have now is doing a fantastic job. She works hard. We're blessed to have her. And we think that it is time to go forward again and request this position. With that said, I will try to answer questions as we go through this budget.
Okay. All right, so 100 series. $200 series. $300 series. $400 series.
425. Jim, did one of the contracts go up a bit, quite a lot, or is it just all of them going up a little bit?
So the big takeaway on this one is the upgrade to the Cognos server. That is the Enquesta software that's used by the billing department.
Yeah.
And that is in need of a upgrade. We found out about this about a month and a half ago. We've been working with Block 5. We've been working with Systems and Software, which is the Enquesta program. We've figured out a stopgap measure because they're going to stop supporting the software at the end of the year. We've made a stopgap measure on that, but we have to do this upgrade as soon as we possibly can to try and or to continue to operate the software. So that's where the increase you will see in that line.
Thank you.
Anything else in 400 series?
Linda, there is one other item that is an increase. And I apologize, I should have caught that earlier. The First Light Internet and Phone coming into Town Hall. That was and Paul will understand this, 25 by 15 service. It wasn't meeting the needs, so we've transitioned to 100 Mbps symmetrical system. Block 5 worked with us, worked with First Light, and it was a minimal change in the cost.
Okay, thank you.
Again.
Anything else in 400? 700 series. And 800 series.
Jim?
Okay.
Chairman?
Yes, Paul.
Thank you. So congratulations on doing this. This is just rough math. Costs us about 210 grand just to maintain our existing IT infrastructure without even putting a human resource on the problem. It costs we have cell phones all over the town, and that's good. They're all legitimate, I'm sure. We have different structures of telecom and internet access and all that stuff. And to date, we've applied on a part-time basis $10,000 of a human being to kind of preside over that infrastructure. That doesn't. I see other budgets where we have 90% of the total budget is headcount and 10% is to provide a service. We're kind of like in the opposite side of this. So what you're suggesting is that we make a $35,000 incremental investment on this $210,000, and we move from episodes of care and confusion to having somebody who's going to preside over this full time. So when we get closer to the budget committee, do we need to put together something? Because I know they're going to all look at this and say, you know, it's amorphous, we got to cut it and all. Do we need to think about maybe calling this one out as our special interest for the town or not?
Well, you just tell them to go look at our website and see how much of it is correct.
Well, I don't want to go there because I could be rude. I'm not going to do that.
I mean, there's their example. I mean, we have committees that haven't had their updated to the right people on it. I mean, that's an example they can see.
Yeah, the fact that Jim just told us that we went from a 25 megabit service to a 100 megabit service, it's pretty bad. And again, we're not in the IT infrastructure business to spend money. We're in the IT business to deliver a better product for the customers, for our voters, for the citizens. And we're not doing that right now, nor are we doing it for our people. So I don't know, Jim, we'll leave it to you, but I don't know if we need to kind of express our support in a big way for this, because I think it's important.
I can certainly as well reach out to the various committees, you know, and get a motion of support from them, which I think would be helpful going forward, because we're hearing it all the time. It's constant. We need more IT help. We need more IT help. We need more IT help. So here we are asking for it. You know, this did come together late, based on getting the quotes together for certain contracted services and whatnot, but we feel this is definitely the right thing to do for the community.
We told everybody to go work at home. We have a 25 meg pipe coming into the town. It's ridiculous. Anyways, whatever makes sense, we'll do it.
Okay. All right, now I actually, I think I owe Dave Ford an apology here. I skipped over the Public Works line item here. For some reason, Jim, when you told me fire department's gonna be here Monday, I wrote Monday down after Public Works, and I skipped right over it to Living Museum. So, Dave, if you're still with us, I hope you're still here with us. I apologize for that. That was my oof. So we'll go on to Public Works now.
So I think we've got a couple revisit items we've been through. I believe you got the backup now regarding household hazardous waste. And that number is in alignment with what's in the budget. So we should be in pretty good shape there. We're still working through the fuel postings. We think we're in good shape there. Michelle has actually been working with the chief mechanic at the highway department, public works garage. We've actually got somebody coming in who actually knows the Phoenix system to be able to work with us. So thank Michelle and Ben for getting that going. We think part of this really boils down to we got such a good price on fuel that we're actually saving a lot of money on fuel this year as well, which is a good thing. More to follow on that. With that said, we looked at legal opinion regarding the water department capital reserve fund. I believe you did receive that interpretation from Attorney Puffer, which outlines that yes, can take those bottom line funds and put into capital reserve by simply a vote of the Board of Selectmen going forward as surplus funds. The one thing I do not have checked off here, and I have it, did you receive the capital reserve sheets from Dave on the water? And if you didn't, that's on me. Okay, I've got them. I will get them to you.
I mean, in the past couple of days, Jim?
Yeah. Okay, I will get those to you tomorrow. That's on me. Dave got them to me, and I didn't get them out the door to Amy, so that'll be taken care of. I think that takes care of the bulk of Dave's follow-ups, the exception of the discussion about the organizational structure of Public Works. I've had some conversations with Dave. I've had some conversations with a couple different Board of Selectmen members. And I think we looked at the original proposal that came forward from Teda and Howard, and we brought to you, the Board of Selectmen, that report. In that report, there are two models of the organizational chart for the Highway Department. I think we believe at this point the best organizational model is creating two distinct departments. Dave Ford would be in charge of water sewer and have a certain percentage of general fund associated with capital projects. We look at a new Public Works director who would come in and be in charge of the Highway Department, the garage, solid waste, buildings and grounds. That would be under the general fund. We think that that's a much better model because one of the items that we've identified as a significant problem is communications. This will help to improve our communications, we believe, going forward. And it puts staff where they have their strengths. And I think that is critically important, is moving staff to where their strengths are. With that said, Dave and I are here to try and answer any questions, and I'll shut up for the moment and let you guys ask Dave some questions.
Board members have anything to start with?
Thanks for all you do, Dave.
Dave, your thoughts on this? Or
That was
You could start, Paul.
No, I was going to ask Dave what he thought about it, but Brad asked him before I did.
The questions to Dave Ford. We are we really straight out, and the need to do something is important. I think we talked about it last year. We did the study, and it clearly identified certain areas where we need to be strengthening. And I think this is an area right now. We have a $3.5 million project about ready to go out to bid with regards to the RAB project. That's going to take at least a good year and a half, you know, once it does go to construction. We get the sewer pump stations, potentially $3 million of work that's going to take a couple of years. We have a lot of water and sewer infrastructure work. We're building all the asset management stuff. And we have a lot going on. So just that alone, it does deserve the full attention of someone. And the operation side of the Public Works, and we got a lot of staff there, and we have a lot of moving parts. And like Jim was saying, one of the areas that I'm not really strong on is equipment. We rely on our staff, and they do, I think, a very good job, and our crews do an excellent job there. But that might strengthen the team, getting a Public Works director and just focus on that, on snow removal, and we would focus, Scott Pike, I would stay as a primary operator, and we focus on the big projects we have in front of us, and as well as, again, the asset management plan up and running. So we think it's a good idea.
So Dave, it feels good to you as a solution.
Yes.
It seems to me to be a good solution because it puts you in the areas where you have the expertise that we really need. And I think that we should be able to go out and find an absolutely competent public works director. I think that's an easier position to fill than somebody who has knowledge in sewer and water.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to agree with that. Jim and I talked, I don't know, it was last week or earlier this week. I lost track of the days now, but it just seemed to make sense for that chart there, the original one that we looked at that we're talking about now, for Dave to really focus on the capital projects and the RIB and the water and sewer side of that with Scott's help up there at the plant, and to bring in somebody that would do the highway transfer station and kind of take that aspect of the public works and kind of take that and run with it and relieve a lot of the pressure off of Dave. So it makes a lot of sense to me to approach it that way. Dave Senecal?
Is that something that we're going to try to do this year and fund it this year, or is it something we're going to try to progress and put it together for next year? What's going to happen with that?
Yeah, this will be put together. We will have some very specific numbers for you on Monday night, but this will be for the 2021 budget proposal.
Okay.
We were planning on introducing it only by July 1st, just because of the town meeting and the time it takes to advertise. So the idea would be only a 50% impact on the budget in 2021, and then a full impact in 22. And so we will have those numbers looking at next year and the following year. So you have the impacts on all the utility budgets as well as general government.
Paul?
I think you always want to put your best skill against your highest risk, and you want to make sure you do that. If this RIB project goes in the wrong direction, I think I've heard numbers from Linda and Dave that this could be, I don't know, $30-40 million of oops money that we'd have to go come up with, or lay a pipe over to Tilton or someplace like that. I've heard that. All right.
Yeah.
We're gonna write a 3.1 million. Is that what you said, Dave? We're gonna spend 3 million.
Our budget for the RIB is $3.5 million. It's going to go out to bid later on this fall, so we'll know by town meeting. We'll be going for our authorizations, and then in addition to that, the sewer pump stations, which are.
And then we need to spend another 3.5, I think, on the pump stations. Is that what it is?
Yep.
So so if you just sit there and you say to yourself, $6 million bucks is being laid on the table, and if we get some of that wrong, the downside risk gets to be 4, 5, 6x that. I would want to make sure that we put the best people on the team who have the skills to manage that on that. And then on the other side, if we do that and we don't care for the other half of this department, which is spending $850,000 a year on road maintenance, trying to keep up with the road maintenance asset plans, if we don't get people over there paying attention to that, then we have problems on that side. I think we're doing the right thing. I really do. I think it makes sense. And I think it hopefully gives Dave Ford an opportunity to focus on the things that, from what little I've known of his background, is where you came from. You're a PE, right? You're a PE guy in this stuff. So I think that's the right thing to do.
And I also think it takes the pressure and overburdened job load off of Dave, which he's carried for this town for, 15 years now, Dave?
December 6th we started, so almost 14 years.
Yeah, and that's a long time we put that together because we had to get out of, and they were real crisis with water and sewer moratorium, and he kept a heavy load for a lot of years, and I think this makes sense. We'll use your skills and we'll find somebody else and take a little bit of that load off of you, which I think I'd like to see.
Great,
You know,
thank
some
you.
people are going to argue that we're growing town government, but you know what? In the last conversation we had about IT infrastructure, and the conversation we're having here, no, we're focusing. We're making good investments to focus the resources of this town. I mean, to have $250,000 sitting out there in IT infrastructure just flopping on the dock like a fish makes no sense. To have a risk of a failure at the RIP site and not putting our best person on it, it's not. I don't think that's growth. I think that's focus. So I think it's a great thing to do, and I'm very pleased that we're doing this, or at least having a conversation about it.
And just again, on the growth too, just so we don't get when I came, we had two positions, we're made to one position. When I came here, there was a public works director and there was a water sewer director.
Right.
The staff has moved around. We've changed some people from solid waste to highway and back and forth, but our head count is basically the same, except for part-time people who came in to take outside contracts we couldn't get anyone to bid on, the barrel pickup, and the brush disposal. So we really haven't grown our department. We do need to, but we've been, and we're doing a heck of it with the crews we have and done a great job. But again, we thank you for your support. It's good discussion. So I will get all the numbers for you, and hopefully we can convince the budget committee it's a good thing for the town.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Dave. Any other
Mr.
questions?
Chairman, yeah, same question, Mr. Chairman, for Jim that I had on the technology thing. I mean, is this an emphasis area on the operating side of this town that we want to make sure that the budget committee understands the importance of and the support of this Board of Selectmen for this initiative?
Absolutely. I think you guys hit it on the head with all of the aspects of this critical infrastructure that is in need of some serious attention, and we've got the right person to provide the attention to that. But we've also got those other pieces of equipment and the operators of those pieces of equipment for the various divisions that require more attention as well. So I think this is the right plan. I think we need to really launch once we get through the Board of Selectmen budget process, we really need to publicize this in a positive light, whether it's through the Wolfeboro Community TV, some conversations with the press. We certainly should be able to tackle some of that moving forward. And having the buy-in from the Board of Selectmen is obviously critically important.
Thank you, Mr. Ford.
Yeah,
How
Linda?
about when Mr. Ford's budget comes up for front of the budget committee, all the members of the Board of Selectmen attend that meeting? Because we very rarely go as a board, but we should go as a board and let them know that we're here because we feel that's so important to the running of the town. So that would be my suggestion for the budget committee.
I think there's an agenda. I think there's a schedule coming out. I probably have it someplace in my, you have it?
I do. Let's see.
All right,
Public Works is Monday, November 30th.
What about technology? Is that one in there? Where is that one?
Let's see. Technology probably falls under general government, do you think?
Yeah. Maybe we'll ask John. I'll ask John if we could smush those two things together.
They have general government is on December 10th. And I think technology would go under general government.
I can certainly ask.
Yeah.
I can certainly ask the chairman to move technology to that same night in an effort to try and streamline it for the Board of Selectmen, if that works for you.
Well, for everybody. That way
That makes sense.
yeah, that'd be great, Jim. Thank you.
All right, do we have anything else?
So, Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure that I've got the most current list for revisits for Monday night. So Monday night, we'll have numbers and discuss further the Public Works reorganization. We'll discuss the fire department budget. You will receive the healthcare budget as a standalone budget. You will receive the long-term debt schedule. You will receive the administrative allocation costs. You will receive the assessing budget for review that night. I believe that ties up all the loose ends. Is there anything else?
On that assessing budget, you need to check what the Community Smart program says and what the backup, because they do not agree.
Yeah, so tomorrow morning, I've got a meeting with Dave Ford, and after that meeting, I'm meeting with Linda Ridings to go over that budget.
It looks like everything I had on my list over here, Jim, so. Sounds good.
Thank you, Dave Ford.
Anything else for us, Dave? Are you all set with the public works things? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is public input. If we have anybody out there that needs to speak to us. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
sorry to do this. I just need to give you folks an update on something, because we may get a letter or phone call or something. Atlantic Broadband is out there. The trucks are out. They're pulling cable. They're doing what they're supposed to do, because they have to have this project of 23 homes done by December 15th. There is a segment of our town that has a residence and an adjoining residence, and there has been some conversations with Mr. Muccio and Atlantic Broadband by the resident about not hanging cable across an existing, I guess it's an existing easement. I may have it incorrect. Long story short, this project needs to move forward. Mr. Pinio has an email that from Barry that is going to go to this resident that is going to say, we're just confirming that you don't want the cable service, and the adjoining neighbors will not get cable service, and we will move on. We can't delay this, because if we do, it'll cost Atlantic Broadband several $100,000. So there may be a little fur flying in the next day or so, but I'll tell you that we're doing everything we can to accommodate the request of this person, and it probably will result in us not serving 23 homes, but 21 homes, because we will just simply go around this person's property and continue to serve them with somebody else, down the road. So I'm just letting you know. I don't want to mention the person's name yet until we get it all buttoned up.
Okay.
I would like a copy of that email. It
Yeah.
goes out.
Yep. Jim, it's in your inbox.
Yeah, I'd like a copy of that as well.
Yep.
I can share it with the
I'm
board.
sure
We'll get a phone call. But we have
I'd like
do
to
it.
know. I'd like to know where the phone call is coming from ahead of time.
You'll get the
that
email.
email.
You'll get it in the email.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
Anything else tonight before we adjourn? If somebody would like to make a motion?
Move to adjourn.
We adjourn.
I beat you to it.
I'll consider Linda having a second then. Okay, roll call vote. Linda,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Dave Senical,
Yeah.
Paul,
Yes.
and Brad votes yes also. Good night, everyone. We'll see you Monday
Thanks,
and
John.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Good night.
Over now.